Hello everyone and welcome back, and this is DasKeyboard bringing you some awesome games that just recently picked up from when I casted the DasKeyboard tournament. I want to make sure I'm bringing all of my YouTube viewers plenty of content to go along with the people who are viewing my stuff on MLG TV or whatnot, and to be totally honest, I'm almost overly inundated with a lot of casting to do and not a lot of time to do it, so I guess that's a pretty good problem to be having at this point in time. Let's get into the player introductions and get into this game. First off, spawning as our yellow Terran, we have OpticalRH. And spawning as our blue Zerg, his opponent, Zelniq. This is going to be on the map MLG GSL dual site, which is a bit of a mouthful, but is an awesome map that the GSL recently implemented in, I believe, the GSTL initially. And has carried over into MLG, and it's really just a good, nice map. It is a two-player map, but is a very large map still. Do have these two gold bases on either edge of the map with a rich Vespian geyser on them. Plenty of expansions for you just to take besides the gold bases, just outside of your natural, and add a third location, and even a potential secondary third and or fourth location. So really, depending on how this map plays out, there's a lot of really cool things that can actually happen on this map. See, Optical is going to be just getting up his first barracks, is going to be taking some gas right away, so not going to be going for a very fast 2 racks or any kind of a super fast expansion. It's pretty standard openers here so far. I do see Zelniq is going to be throwing down his hatchery on, I believe, 15. And probably getting his pool around 15 or 14 as well. Might get the pool on just 14 here, just to avoid that little tiny frame of time where on a 2-player map it's a little bit easier for a Terran to bunker rush you, so don't mind that at all out of Zelniq. So he's going to be sending his first drone scout out now to actually scout exactly what Optical's doing. Looks like he's going to be trying to place this Overlord over here near this waterfall. Do like that placement. Does hide the Overlord. Allows you to have vision of what's going on kind of right in this front area of the Terran base. Do see that Optical is going to get his entire front walled off, though, before the drone scout is going to actually get there. So since Zelniq decided to wait until he put his pool down to actually send his first drone scout, he's actually not going to get into the base of Optical. Would have had to have sent it around 13 or 14 supply before his hatcher pool to actually have gotten it in, and might actually lose the drone. Yes, he will lose the drone. Optical picks it off. So we're going to wait and see exactly what Optical's plan is behind this initial barracks. Could go for a very fast expand. Could just tech up behind this. Looks like he's going to tech up behind it. Going to be getting down his factory. Still mining gas, so not going to be going for an expand anytime too soon. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how he decides to open. Obviously, a lot of Terran players using a lot of Hellion type of play recently. Do see Zelniq getting up his initial extractor now. Pretty normal timing on everything he's doing right now. And going to be immediately throwing down a Roach Warren. So this is a very interesting move by Zelniq. Zelniq actually not building hardly any Zerglings at all. Just a couple of Zerglings out here on the map. Going to be trying to chase down this SCV. Immediately throwing down a Roach Warren. It'd be interesting to see if Optical actually did see the Roach Warren. Yes, he did see the Roach Warren go down. So he should be aware of that Roach Warren down on the map. You see Zelniq is going to be chasing down this SCV if he can. Going to be extremely close as to whether or not he can pick this SCV off before it actually makes it back to the safety of these Marines back here. You see it is down to 10 hit points. Might go down to 5, but no, it looks like the SCV should actually survive. Zelniq going to be forced to turn around. Does actually lose one Ling in the process. But you do see no more Lings coming out for Zelniq. Hasn't started his metabolic boost at all. So it looks like he's going to be going with a solely Roach-based army here. And he's actually going to be going for an extremely fast lair, starting his lair at 5 minutes. So I'm going to be extremely interested to see exactly what Zelniq's plan is going to be, because this is definitely a style of play you do not see very often out of Zerg players, especially in the TVZ matchup. Typically see a lot of Zerg players going for rather fast Zergling speed into a lot of Banelings and stuff to defend. And Optical actually doing something very interesting now. Has one orbital command, has up his initial factory, hasn't started really producing anything out of it just yet, just producing Marines off of one barracks, but throwing down 2 orbital commands at once, or at least 2 command centers at once. So very interesting strategy here out of Optical. We do see he has moved out towards that initial Zelnaga tower, just making sure there's nothing for Zelniq spotting around the map. Meanwhile, we see Zelniq should have his lair up soon. We're going to maybe get an inkling of what he's doing, starting to build a couple of Roaches for defense. So going to be going with a Roach-based army in this ZVT, which I have seen some Zerg players do just because they're so worried about Blue Flame Hellions doing a lot of damage to them. And if you do go with a Zergling-based army, you can take an immense amount of damage from largely Zergling-based armies. But going to be interesting to see exactly how Zelniq is planning on playing this match out up. Do see, meanwhile, over here, Optical has gotten his expansion orbital command up, already has another command center just about to finish up, so right now they're sitting on 3 command centers, so just kind of massing buildings right now, not actually building a lot of army, although he has a decent amount of army, I would say, at this point in time. Getting up his siege tanks. He has not started siege mode yet, though, so would definitely be very vulnerable to some kind of Ling Baneling all-in with the style he is playing, but that is not what Zelniq's going to be doing, so going to be getting away for it now. We do see the Roach speed already on the way for Zelniq, so this is definitely going to be a very Roach-centric style of play for Zelniq. No other upgrades or tech just yet, just mining off of 3 gas, producing a lot of roaches here. It does have a few Zerglings, but not very many at all, so it could be very susceptible to a lot of tank type play. And we do see that is exactly what OpticalRH is going to be doing. Not going to be using that more newer fad of a more mech-based style, and even going to be getting up a 4th fast orbital command center. So Optical going with this extremely interesting mass orbital opening, getting up 4 very quick orbital commands. Does have some Marines and tanks over here at his natural. Does have the siege mode now finally on the way, even be putting up a bunker at his front here. But very, very vulnerable style against some kind of very early Baneling-based pressure from Zerg. So taking a little bit of a risk there as Optical, but getting away with it right now. As we see Zelniq right now, still just sitting on 2 bases, amassing a lot of roaches. Has not even taken a 3rd base yet. Have to criticize him a little bit for not actually taking a 3rd base behind this. Does now have the minerals to very easily have taken a 3rd base, and roaches do eat up a lot of your supply. And while they are a cost-efficient unit, they are not a supply-efficient unit. By that meaning that they take up a lot of supply for what is a relatively mediocre unit. So I'm going to be very interested to see exactly what Zelniq's plan here. It does have the roach speed now. It's going to be moving out. No other tech or upgrades behind this going down for Zelniq. Not even upgrading the roaches at all with an evolution chamber yet. It looks like he's going to be trying to push in, but we do see that there is 3 tanks. They are set already up. Do not believe Zelniq's going to be able to push in here. Would be a big mistake to push into this tank fire. Already losing a couple of roaches almost instantly. Does manage to take down the bunker, but now is going to be forced to back up. Do see no stim even on those Marines, but with those tanks, there's just no way Zelniq can really do any damage with these roaches. Looks like he's thinking about just trying to contain his opponent, and now he has started tunneling claws along with Roach Burrow. I'm not sure how that is going to pan out for him. Going to be very interesting to see how he does try and utilize that here in this TVZ matchup. Do not see a lot of Zerg players really going with these Roach-based armies, largely thought by a lot of Zerg pros that Roach-based armies are just too vulnerable to siege tanks. So we'll have to see what he's going to do here. You see Optical does have that 4th orbital finished. Looks like he's going to be floating this 3rd orbital over here to a 3rd base location. And Zelniq actually has no spotting on this whatsoever. We'll have no idea that this is actually here. So it looks like Zelniq is trying to just go for kind of a cutesy Roach Burrow timing push here. But I'm not sure it's going to actually work because this style by Optical with all these orbital commands is going to allow him to have so many scans saved up. I'm not sure Zelniq is going to actually be able to get anything done with this. Still unaware of that 3rd base return already being up. Hasn't taken a 3rd base of his own. Is extremely high on minerals. I really would like to see Zelniq taking a 3rd base, and looks like he's finally sending out a drone. Maybe going to try and go straight for this gold base up here behind this roach push. And yes, that's exactly what he's going to be doing. So finally expanding on Zelniq, but already behind quite a bit. If we look at the income tab right now, Terran player actually had 53 to just 45 harvesters. So definitely not the normal situation you want to be in as Zerg. Now we do see that Optical will see this little shadow going across the ground for this roach. If he does notice that, he will be able to get something done with this, but the question is, will he scan and see this in time? So here we go. He is putting down a turret, so I do think he is aware that there is a roach in his base. I do think he knows this is coming. Here comes the roaches now. 3 more moving in, a lot moving in. Down goes the scan, and Zelniq is going to get ambushed. Is going to have to retreat, taking a lot of damage on some of these roaches. Going to have to pull back for now. Right now, Optical is looking pretty fine in this position. We do see that 3rd base for Zelniq is going up, but still no more tech behind this. Just mass-producing roaches. Not really sure what the plan is here. Finally, just now getting up a Baneling nest. Optical with the Ehan timing on the scan will actually see that Baneling nest going down. So no Baneling nest, no Baneling speed, which is going to make it very difficult to deal with this tank-marine combination. Stim on the way. +1 infantry weapons just about to finish up. Do have the +1 vehicle weapons on the way as well. And this 3rd base already mining here for Optical, up to 63 harvesters, just 47 of Zelniq. So Zelniq sacrificing a lot of harvester production, and definitely has the minerals for it. Do see he doesn't even have a macro hatchery down, so I'm really starting to question exactly what Zelniq is doing here, because he's starting to pile up a lot of minerals and a lot of gas, and is really not even spending it, not really teching up at all. Don't see any kind of overlord drops or anything like that to make these roaches more effective. So definitely not really liking this particular play out of Zelniq. I think it was kind of a cutesy timing that may have worked. The Terran didn't have any scans or turrets, but Typically very unlikely for the Terran to not have either one of those at any stage of the game. You see, he's building a couple of Zerglings now, so he can build some Banelings to help him deal with the Marines, getting the Baneling speed as well. So he is starting to transition out of this very roach-centered style of play, but he's going to definitely need to transition fast. Right now, we can see Optical's army being pretty scary, already up to 160 supply. A lot of Marines in his composition. Look at the unit tab really quick. You can see 37 Marines, 6 tanks, 2 medevacs, and a couple of Marauders that will help him deal so easily with those roaches, not even adding on a couple of Razorings. We see Zelniq finally now starting to saturate this gold expansion, so it will help his mineral income, but not going to help him much as far as teching goes. And now finally discovers the third base of Optical. It should force this orbital command to lift. Obviously will not be able to kill it because he doesn't have any air units. Optical needs to lift this though, just now lifts it finally. So we'll finally stop the mining from the third, but won't actually prevent this from being there. We'll plant the roach there to stop it from re-landing. So he will have Optical contained to 2 bases, but Optical already getting a lot of mining out of that third base. Can see supply-wise, he is actually equal with Zelniq, and Zelniq largely on a lot of roaches. Now has a couple of Banelings here, but does not have them burrowed. I mean, he does have the burrow tech. Really should burrow these Banelings. We do see Optical moving out. He could hit all these Marines if he just burrows these Banelings. Burrow the Banelings, and no! Banelings get instantly cleaned up. Oh my god, and as we can see right now, if all those roaches with Banelings, look at all those Marines just running straight over them. Could have killed almost all of the Marines of Optical. Would have made those tanks much more susceptible to a push. But as it stands right now, we see Zelniq losing a couple of Overlords that are around the map. Is going to have to try and defend this with surely just these roaches, morphing in a lot of Banelings now. So going to be going a more Roachling Baneling style, although mostly just roaches and Banelings now trying to move in. Most of the Banelings actually hitting the tank, not hitting these Marines. Now we see the Banelings actually going around the Marines. Now a couple of Banelings move in, but a couple blow up on some of the Marauders. Now a very good pickup there by OpticalRH. Lifts a lot of his Marines. More Marines coming. You do see his tank swinging over here towards the natural. And now the Baneling's actually hitting on all the tanks once again. So very poor control here by Zelniq. And now we see a large drop going into his main. And there's the GG. OpticalRH is going to take this game number 1 and go up 1-0 over Zelniq. And we'll be moving into a game number 2. These were best of 3s. So I will see you guys at that game number 2 in just a moment. For now, though, this is Nersky saying peace easy for now, guys. I will see you at my next cast.